Hey! Oh my gosh. I got a shop vac behind me. I think I kind of rammed into it there. Did a backup job on the shop vac. This is a question that I get asked all the time. And the other one is a statement. And it's a fascinating statement. I wanted to make a half of a video about it. You know, I've been saying through countless videos that, interestingly enough, descriptions are not explanations. People love to describe, well, what this is an igneous rock with inclusions of of quartzite, and there's some... That's a nice description. How did it form that way? Why did it form that way? Descriptions are not explanations. Yeah. Most people, that's sufficient. You got an accurate description that'll help you pass a test. But it doesn't explain anything. And that, of course, is why most people are so incredibly unintelligent, because they'll regurgitate stuff. They'll go home and memorize. Go home and memorize chapters 5 through 10. We're going to have a multiple guess test on it tomorrow. It's like SATs. People crunch for an SAT. They'll learn all this stuff. Might get a really good grade on their SAT, which helps them go into prestigious college, where they teach them to memorize and regurgitate more stuff. People are not taught how to be thinkers. Spontaneous thought genesis and comprehension, of course, is a key attributional nature to understanding, is not taught. Yeah. So here's a good one, and it's very easy to answer, but the first part before getting on to that is about languages. You know, I know several languages, translate Pali, translate ancient Greek, Koine Greek, great, Plotinus. Working on a booklet now. I've written 8 books. People keep asking me, say, how do you learn a language? I used to be a Rusko-Angliski Perevodchik, Russian English translator. Worked for a few entities and couple 3-letter agencies for a little while. Had some fun with law enforcement as a Russian English translator. Say, how do you learn a language? And this is a mistake everybody makes. English is their native language, whatever their native language is. They'll read something, and what their mind is taught to do, and also too taught to them as a process by most teachers. Well, this word means this. Yeah, like you see the Russian word sobak, and that's the English word for dog. So someone learns how to pronounce these letters, like in the Russian language, for example. They could read it, sabak. That means dog. And they keep doing that, and they build this dictionary. Just one language as an example. It applies to any and all languages. This word means that. This word means that. Yeah? And when they read a sentence, or they listen to someone speaking, what their brain has been taught to do, you better learn this. If you ever want to learn a language, you're never going to be able to do it unless you learn this. And it's so simple. And nobody's taught it by teachers, because teachers, by and large, are trash. I have no respect for teachers. I'm sorry if you're a teacher. Sorry. Well, actually, I'm not sorry at all. That's what they do. So they'll listen to someone speaking, and their brain is completely overloaded, mostly overloaded, depending on how intelligent they are. Well, that word means this word means that, this word means that, but you can't do it. These are the people that you can see them thinking when they try to say a sentence in a certain language. They're like, oh, this word means this, I'm going to put this word there. What's the word for that? What's the word for this? And that's what their brains have been taught to do. You can't do it. When you have to learn a language like a child. I'm going to say it twice more because it's how important it is. You have to learn a language the same way a child does. It has no language at all. Like blah, 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 blah. Daddy, mommy. That's what a kid does. He sees daddy with his furry face. Got daddy. Mommy with her wholesome attributes. I better not say that. I was going to say two-legged milk supply source, which is what a child would think. Mommy. You have to think like a child. That's the only way you could do it. Instead of seeing the word sabak and your brain going and being taught, well, that word means duck. Okay, now I know that means duck. You see the word sabak, there is nothing in your brain that goes, well, that word means this. You see it and you have a mental image of a panting dog or some, whatever freaking dog pops into your head. Yeah? Oh, it's a dog. There's no processing. When you hear someone speak Russian or whatever language it is, Greek, there is no processing. You hear a word, you have an immediate, instantaneous, this is the power of symbolism, by the way. That is how anybody ever learns their first language. Every child that doesn't know any language at all, blah, 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 mommy, daddy, that's how they learn it. Instantaneous recognition. There is no processing at all going on in your head. Everybody is taught how to learn a language the wrong way. I've never known a teacher, and I'm sure there's some that exist that do know this. I've never encountered one that teaches, like, you know, before you start learning French or German, whatever the hell it is, we need to learn first how to learn a language. And once you do that, then you can start learning a language. You can't look at this and say, well, this word in Russian is this. You can't do it. You have to look at this and then the Russian word pop in your head instantly. And you can say it or write it out. You can't read any language. You can't translate any language unless you think like a child. Spontaneous recognition of what is said or what is seen. Ты понял? Ясно, как смертный грех? Ты понял? Ты понял? Ну что ты? There's a lot of they say that in Russian. Ну что ты? Which basically means, what the hell's wrong with you? Are you understanding it? You getting it? Ну что ты? I don't think about what I want to say in Russian. I just say it. As if I'm a newborn child learning a new language. And I get asked this question so many thousands. How do you learn a language? That's how you learn a language. Here's the second part of this one. These are things that are said over and over and over again. We had a discussion about this in a live debate. There's a few people saying this. There's two different variants on it. One is, good always triumphs over evil. I've heard that my entire life growing up, same as you. Or the other one is, love always triumphs over evil. Now the good and love, ultimately from the standpoint of metaphysics, are one and the same thing. But people say this, and they recognize it, and they agree with it, and of course it is true. But no one ever asks themselves, what does that mean? Why does good always triumph over evil? Why does love always triumph over evil or hate? Love always triumphs over hate. Hate and evil are synonymous. Love and the good are synonymous, ultimately from the standpoint of metaphysics. And the easy answer to this, and the answer is through retroduction and metaphysics, of course, is that love and good, synonymous, equal energy and capacitance. Nothing, now of course batteries deplete, so don't take the analogy too far. Nothing is needed to maintain energy and capacitance, in the case, analogously, of a battery. Evil and hatred is like that same battery, except it's being drained. It requires work and force. It involves pain, resistance, and suffering. A battery is not bottomless, right? There ain't no such thing as a bottomless battery except for the absolute, which is not a battery, but it is bottomless as far as energy. Yeah. It is work, force, pain, suffering, and resistance. It can never, ever be maintained. You can take the most powerful force in the universe, the most powerful force. Say, for example, which seems completely implausible, that there was a being with the power of 10 suns who's lived 100 million years, right? Evil and hatred, even by such an entity with seemingly limitless power, can't be maintained. It will always be defeated. Is because to do evil and to do hate requires work, force, pain, suffering, and resistance. You want to think in terms of the physics of resistance? That's perfectly fine. Synonymously, it makes no difference. So when people say love always triumphs over evil, or the good always, love always triumphs over hate, or the good always triumphs over evil. We hear these in movies and videos. Yeah, but why is that the case? It's because love and the good is exactly like the ether. It is exactly like dielectric acceleration towards the plane of inertia. There, in counter space, which is not a there at all because it has no Cartesian value. It is in counter space, it has no Cartesian XYZ coordinate. Doesn't require work or energy. work or the expenditure of energy, excuse me. It is energy and capacitance itself. Love is exactly like falling. Doesn't require inner energy, any energy at all. In the case of falling, if we were to take that analogy further, which is not true in the case of falling, or eventually you hit the ground and die, right? You have increasing power. So you're falling, I used to skydive all the time. Falling out of a plane, you feel more and more energy. And as you get closer to the ground, you know, you're fulfilled. No energy is required, no force is required, there is no pain, there's no suffering, there's no resistance. No work is being done. It is completion and fulfillment itself. This is the reason why the true explanation, no different than magnetism and dielectricity, no different than Mother Nature herself, the reason why good always triumphs over evil, and the reason why love always and always will triumph over hate. Because hate and evil cannot be maintained. They require the perpetual feeding, like this fire over here, perpetual feeding. You know, I have a wood-burning stove at my cabin up in the woods. It's wonderful when it's really cold outside. You got to keep stoking that sucker. You got to keep feeding it and feeding it and feeding it. And you're just like, damn, I can't chop any more wood. I'm just going to sit here and freeze to death. That's the reason why I've seen videos like this. People will show their barn, and like there'll be wood, just like this mountain of wood stacked all the way to the ceiling. People are like, oh my God, that's a lot of wood. And people are like, man, you don't know nothing. That's like barely enough to get us through the winter. Barely. Because you just got to keep feeding it. Not that this is a real fire, but I mean, hatred and evil are like this fire, you know. It'll burn you, it'll keep you warm, you know, it'll do things, it will do work. You got to keep feeding it. And that itself is work, force, pain, suffering, and resistance. So, folks, that's the metaphysical answer why good always triumphs over evil, and the metaphysical answer about why love always triumphs over hate. Should say, ultimately. Ultimately, it must. Ultimately, necessitatively, it has to. Definitionally, it has to. I hope you like this video. This is on how to learn languages and the true explanation, not the description of, you know, love over evil and good over evil and love over hate. Excuse me. I got those two reversed there for a second. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye. Really tired. I've been sewing leather all day long. Whew.